How do you live up to that? Awesome. So it was kind of weird catching the train home today at 6 o'clock in the morning because I'm staying down in Perth at the moment. So it was like the reverse trip back up the hill. So I've been staying down there caring for my child. But it's lovely to be back home, I have to say. So we are in the middle of post-pandemic life. Not really. We're in the middle of the pandemic, really, aren't we? Lots of people in Victoria who are doing it hard with disability at the moment. But in WA, disabled people, I think, have felt a little bit safer. You know, thank you to government for shutting the doors every time someone coughs. It's awesome. So we're able to go out and catch the train where we might not be able to in other places. So it's really easy to talk about inclusion here because this is my town. And so I've been a youth leader here for the last 20 years or so. And it's like, yes. And being a youth leader, I've just been talking to Nicole. You know, just one of the things about having a disabled youth leader is that it's kind of a thing where people just know that you're inclusive if you have a disabled person who's running something, right? So that idea of nothing about us without us, when people would, you know, parents would ring up and say, look, I've got a child, but they're disabled, because that's always the introduction, and I'd just laugh. So making sure that young people are included was a really easy thing for us to do. But there's also the thing that sometimes in the country, who's from the country here, like from regions? Yeah, cool. You know the deal, right? So we do things a lot better sometimes. You know, there's the guy with Down syndrome who's just part of the local Rotary or RSL or whatever. There's just, sometimes we do things poorly, but sometimes we do things well. Part of our youth group was that I happen to have 6 kids and 2 grandbabies, by the way. But I also have 2 kids who are transgender, who are adopted kids. And so one of the things about having proximity to trans kids was that when one of the young people in my troop said to me, you know, can we play a game? I said, yep, can we organise it? You know, girls over here, boys over there. Caught the look on the young person's face of like, oh. And then after the game, said to the young person, look, I don't want to like make you disclose anything, but if you're uncomfortable with me using gendered language, you probably shouldn't have done that. Should have just said, you guys over there, or patrols, guys. But the young person actually popped up and said, actually, yeah, can I tell you about something? I'm actually non-binary. I live in Toodyay. It's really, really difficult because there's not many people, you know, who know about this stuff, and I'm, you know, kind of don't know where I fit, and I haven't told mum yet, and la la la. So it was a really interesting thing for me as a youth leader to be having this discussion with this young person, you know, just about this place being safe for this young person. Really lucky that the other kids, or most of the other kids in our group, were really accommodating young people who were willing to sit down and listen and learn. That young person is now a massive, massive, massive activist for young people who are non-binary young people. And you know, just watching that young person be able to be included and then to make their own decisions about their identity, to be able to, they shouldn't have to fight battles in this day and age. This is the same thing, like when you have people who, who's from Toodyay? 1, 2, 3, okay. So you all remember that we had the fabulous Richard Walkie, who was a gay doctor, right? Same deal. If you have people who are disabled in your community, yeah, I know, it's like, we all miss Richard still. It's like our doctor dies and we don't get over it for 30 years. So it's a thing where if you have people in the room who are actually disabled people, Aboriginal people, this is actually when change happens, because things happen to make sure that places are safe, because it's built of all community. So this is kind of a weird photo for lots of people, because people say, oh no, you're one of those violent red-headed activist left-leaning shouty women who go on TV and shout at the sky, and you're pulling up a flag and you're at Anzac Day, aren't you? You know, you're supporting war. But you know, actually this is part of what I've done for a long time as part of community service. And part of this is actually because the young people who would do vigil every single year in Toodyay would be standing there and they'd read the names on the war memorial. There'd be the names of their friends from school, people that they knew, and we'd talk about all the aspects of war. And so, you know, there wasn't this right-left kind of flavoured thing in our country towns. We're not as political as they are in the city. And children had that real sense of belonging, you know, that they knew that they belonged here. So does anyone know what a social model of disability is? Laura does. Grace does. Nobody else does in the world. This is a very, very, very short explanation.
Imagine a town full of physically impaired people, all wheelchair users. They run everything. There aren't any able-bodied people, so naturally, when they built the town, the community decided it was pointless to have ceilings 10 foot high and doors 7 foot high. So the ceilings were built at 7 foot and the doors at 5 foot. In every way, they designed the place the way they wanted it. One day, a few able-bodied people come to stay. One of the first things they notice is the height of the doors. And the reason they notice is because they keep hitting their heads. They come to stand out by the bruises they carry on their foreheads. Soon doctors, psychiatrists and social workers all become involved. Committees are formed. Many people are worried about what becomes known as the problem of the able-bodied. Throughout the town there is a growth of real concern. Specially toughened helmets are handed out, free to the able-bodied, to be worn at all times. Braces are designed which give support and relief, while keeping the able-bodied wearer bent to normal height. Various groups of compassionate wheelchair users get together and form registered charities. Every quarter they have a collection day. Upturned helmets are left in pubs and shops for people to drop their small change into. There is talk of founding special homes. But then one day, it dawns on the able-bodied that there is nothing actually wrong with them, just that society excludes them.
Summed it up pretty quickly, right? Kieran from the Prospector on the train said, your wheelchair won't fit down the aisles. And I said, that's because your train's not accessible to me. And the Avon link is. And so this is the thing that people, you know, even if we have disabilities that people can't see, that societal attitudes also exclude people. If you're mad, autistic, if you are a little bit different from everybody else, then you're excluded because you don't fit in with the norm. And that's the same thing goes for lots of other disabled people. So, you know, I want to thank all of the people who have come here today and the people who have provided these chairs for you to sit on, because not having your own assistive technology is really important for you people, because it gets really, really awful, like standing up for a long time. And sometimes I see you outside concerts and waiting for a long time and queuing, and I want to cry. You're brave and inspirational. Can you give yourself a round of applause, please? Thank you. Oh dear. You have to have a sense of humour otherwise. So it's not just about providing a ramp, it's actually about belonging, you know. People sometimes, you know, there's a flight of stairs at the front of a place and people say, oh, we never have wheelchair users in here. Honestly, they do. And so we've never had anybody who's come in here. No, you haven't. So we don't routinely turn up at places with flights of stairs. So it's actually about being part of something. So even if you've got a footy club and you're saying, oh, well, you know, how can I involve people with disability in the footy club? If this person's a wheelchair user, they're obviously not going to be able to kick a ball. But actually, what's your committee look like? You're struggling to get committee members. Who cuts up the oranges? Like, you know, this is actually what does your club look like and what does inclusion look like? It's not just about providing a ramp. It's not just an optional extra. If you provide it, you're doing the bare minimum and you're not breaking the law. So people who say things to you, oh, I don't mind doing this for you. It's like, no, you're not doing me a favour. You're just not committing a federal offence. So really it's about making sure that you are accessible and inclusive. And 3 practical things that you need to do is to remember the social model of disability. That is your role and responsibility to make sure that you include people with disability. To include us, so if you are right at the start of planning something, get some people with disability involved, other people who reflect the diverse membership of your community, older people. You know, and you quite often find that when you do things that are accessible, then it actually makes sense for a bunch of people. If you put in a ramp, it means that mums with prams will be able to access your place, right? If you use very easy English or plain English, then it means that not only people with intellectual disability, but also migrants who have English as a second language will be able to understand what you're saying. And the third thing is to make a plan, because as we know, nothing happens without the plan. It's not actually about fitting the square peg into the round hole. We need to reconfigure the round hole. And there's a term which is used called universal design, and that's the term that you can Google, which is about having a ramp that everybody can use rather than stairs that only some people can use, to put it in a really simplistic way. Missing people is when people are saying, how can I get people to come? You know, it's actually looking at who's missing and why are they missing. So why don't you go to that place? Do you know that place? How do they know that place exists? If you're a person who's already segregated and isolated from society, what does that look like for people? And also, what do your staff look like? If you have all old men who are all working in a place that is, you know, and you wonder where the women are, then generally that will be a bit of a, you know, reflection on your membership. And you know, you need to make sure that you've got those people involved at the start, because it means that they'll be people who make your organisation inclusive. So as somebody who has muscular dystrophy and uses a wheelchair for mobility, I also have autism and ADHD. I hate saying I have autism. It sounds like I have COVID. I have ADHD, which means that I generally don't make notes, etc. I didn't talk about being autistic for a long time, because out of all of the 6 children, there's only one kid that doesn't have a diagnosis of anything in our family. We call her the special one, or the burden. And so she's a nurse, it's not her fault, and we love her anyway. And but, you know, when you look at people who have ADHD, you know, the flip side of us being scatty, impulsive, not having any focus, having a busy brain, talking a lot when we have a thought in our brain at any time, being really disorganised. If you put a bill under another piece of paper, it magics away and we don't care anymore. And we get tired and we get fidgety. There's a spelling mistake in there, that's sad. But the other side of that is that we're like massively energetic, we're enthusiastic, we have hyper focus, we're creative, we're on the go. We work really well under pressure. We can smash a deadline like no other person. So you don't always have kids in the wheat belt who actually have a diagnosis of ADHD. They're quite often those kids that just are, I don't know, the tyre fitter. You go down to the tyre fitter, there's always some jumpy guy who's just running. There you are, my people. So you'll find those people. You know, we just used to send them into a paddock somewhere and get them to pick up rocks or, you know, round up sheep. It was a fine, but this is the thing. We kind of get a bit medicalised and you know, don't actually look at people's strengths instead of what their perceived deficits are. If you have your neck broken and you have a massive injury where you can't move a muscle at all, you know, doesn't mean you're unemployable. No, it means you're going to be a shit-hot life model. You are never going to move a muscle. You can stay there for ages and be drawn. That is going to be something that you could earn $65 an hour. Really, it's just about changing your thinking about, you know, the way that disabled people are. And, oh, how are we going for time? 4 minutes? Got 4 minutes? Two? Are you the timekeeper? I love breaking the rules. Let me go back. Okay. I promise.
We're in danger of losing our city's innovative mud. Checks and scans. Let's slow down and Samantha. We're in danger of losing our I think there's always Good. A long, productive discussion. Well, that just about wraps it up.
Not quite. There's the new Disability Discrimination Act.
I think it's an excellent idea.
Yeah, me too.
Commendable. About time, that's what I say.
Absolutely, right.
Then we support it. Good.
No, you see, the Act's already come into effect. We have to decide what we're going to do about it.
Do.
What does that mean?
Do. Well, we do whatever the law requires us to do. Hearing aids, ramps, I don't know. Just keep the costs down. Now, don't get me wrong. My cousin's disabled. I know what it's like for them. But it's crazy to spend more than we have to. I mean, do we even have any disabled people working here, huh? Well, I'm not saying we don't do our bit. Just don't go overboard, that's all.
Those ramps make damn good PR.
He's got a point. Robert, why don't you check out what the competition's doing? I don't want us losing out in the image stakes. Make some recommendations. We'll meet up day after tomorrow. Discuss it. Talk some more.
I got the interview. Tomorrow.
So you're leaving us?
Time for a change. Of course we're still up for tomorrow night. Finally get to see what you look like. Well, I hope you're not disappointed too. I suppose I'm looking for a change. To broaden my horizons. To see what it's like from a different experience. I want this job, I want this job. To see what it's like from a different point of view. You can do it. Where's your mum when you need her? To see what it's like from a different point of view. Taxi! Sam, come on!
I'd just like to say, I think you're very brave.
Hi, I'm Robert Kesey. I'm here for the...
For the interview?
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I couldn't...
I'm sure that's okay.
Taxi. Sorry, I can't
Oh,
read.
they shouldn't be long.
No, but I just
You're
can't...
welcome.
Come in.
What's going on? He's able-bodied.
How good of you to come. Why don't you take a seat? Now, take as much time as you need.
Hey, I had a friend who had all his limbs once. It's great.
No, I didn't get it. I mean, it's as if they weren't even listening to me. I don't know. Listen, I've got to go. I'll tell you about it later, okay? Yeah, 8 o'clock. I'm wearing a light grey suit, purple shirt, burgundy tie. Okay, then. Bye.
Sorry, mate. Wheelchairs only.
What?
Well, I don't make the rules.
Sorry.
So, yeah, some thinking points. Attitudinal stuff informs what happens, and everybody who has a disability gets really, really, really tired of people saying, unfortunately, we can't do this. You know, this is about making a plan, making sure that we put things into action quickly. Alrighty, I will stop talking because otherwise I'm going to get in trouble. But thank you very much. I hope everyone has a disability access and inclusion plan by the end of the week. And if anybody sees my friend Christian Porter, tell him I'm looking forward to another car park meeting with him. Thank you.